buildings.
We have flood all the buildings?
Yes.
We don't have the, I think they, this is where
No,
it's,
no. Now, I think the one
this is the quote if you want.
on Third is big lots. I mean, yeah, they're half-acre lots. They real big lots, 100-something foot. Not by McPhail.
Because it's in the fire.
Sounds great. AEs up there.
I'd like to be a part of that
Good.
conversation.
Even
The way this is built up,
You don't tell me what to
look
do.
at Katrina water. Probably wouldn't have gotten the building.
Which one's that?
No, I was pouring some concrete.
McPhail? No. Oh, yeah.
But no,
So I think it,
your
we
insurance
have
costs.
flood
Oh,
500,000. The
Some
firehouse
of the
building.
big-
Probably not
He
this
put
building.
up the city now for the developer. Now, 5 years ago when the
So
first
that would
one came, I think he was their engineer, but not
Don't have-
current.
I was pouring
So
some.
that's kind of some misinformation
Here,
being thrown around.
Army shot.
Mhm.
Army shot.
Premiums are down.
Yeah, no.
Hey, Gene didn't answer.
Yeah. No, he ain't answering me neither. Guess just the Three Stooges tonight.
Who's the third stooge?
Kyle on the phone.
Oh, hey, Kyle.
Oh, he's on mute, but yeah.
Hey, man, mind if I move over?
Come on closer. He's on this right here.
Oh, you stole my mic? I know Mackenzie's at a tryout.
Oh, thank you. Answer any questions that y'all have. After that, we'll dismiss him so he can start driving. He's got a 4-hour drive down.
Where's he from?
Starkville area. I've been to Grand Isle since the
Long
hurricane.
drive.
Back to Starkville, yeah. But you just asked me that, just, you know, do I need to stay or what? And I said, no, no. I said, somebody goes, I'm gonna get on the road after. I said, I'll stay as long as you want me to. I said, once they finish your question, let's go ahead and dismiss you and let you start driving. Get out of here.
Oh, good. Now.
I asked John to explain. Most of our good buildings have sit beside the fires, because fires in this other program.
Yeah.
We have flood insurance. But we only have 5,000. We don't have excess coverage. I'm sitting there, Kerry, so
FEMA's probably gonna come help you anyway after that.
it's a cost benefit risk. Regular policy, you don't get a choice.
Yeah.
Everything on video, so again, people, they can go back and watch if they need to.
You ready?
Kyle?
You wanna unmute Kyle?
Yeah, Kyle.
The red one at the bottom there. Okay. Hey Kyle, you there?
Hey, I'm here.
Okay, all right. We're gonna go ahead and call to order the recess meeting from July 18th. Tonight's July 20th, 2023 at 5:34 p.m. We have Kyle Lewis present by phone, Gary Noblock and Josh DeSalvo present here. So we don't have a quorum tonight to take any action, so it'll just be a information meeting for tonight. First up, Mr. Rossetti, if you wanna just come up and explain the insurance.
Yes, John Rossetti with Vets Rossetti and Associates. You wanted to talk about the flood insurance, is that correct?
Yes.
And then the possibility of excess flood. So through the NFIP on commercial buildings, the max limit you get is 500,000.
Okay,
250 on your home, 500 on commercial side.
okay.
When we look at the city of Bay St. Louis on our higher dollar value buildings, say like the administrative office and community center,
Mhm.
that's the current limits of flood coverage we have now. You
can get excess flood. I think you have a quote for excess flood. The mayor had asked me for like what an additional million cost. So you have a quote there, for an additional million. Just realize that building's in the X zone. You got $500,000 worth of coverage,
Yeah. Well,
but you have your options there.
content same rate as building coverage on that? Pretty much, is contents the same rate pretty much as coverage on the
Contents
building?
raised a little more, rated slightly more, but it's close.
'Cause that was my only thing I looked at, and there was gonna be a lot of brand new furniture in that building, not that was gonna
And
happen.
I don't
but
know
Yeah,
what the value of the furniture is. We did know, Jason gave me a hard cost on the building.
Yeah.
You can absolutely endorse it. If you
Mhm.
get more furniture in there, we can endorse the policy.
Yeah, we can increase the content side later if we need to, okay? Excess flood here.
John, currently, what do we have from a city regarding flood insurance on the rest of the buildings throughout the city? Excluding the two fire departments, 'cause I know they're on a different insurance plan. But, City Hall and other ones like, what are we currently doing?
So, as a rule of thumb, if we have a building that's insured for 100,000 on the property scale, then we have 100,000 flood coverage on that.
Okay.
But when we have a building, say, in excess of 500,000, we can't get excess flood coverage unless we get a quote for years and years, last 15 years, so kind of kept it at that limit. On recently, replacement costs, we got a few buildings, I don't have them memorized, but some of the buildings in the 350 range, whatever, cost of building, everything's going up in square footage. Every year, I'm gonna keep the flood policy, you can bump it by a little bit, and we'll go 3 or 4 years, and then Jamie asked, John, do we need to bump it? Let's look at it. And I look at the property schedule. Yeah, Jamie got it on the property side. Remember how they increased the valuation on the fire side? Like, maybe they bumped the bill to 450. Jamie said, yeah, we need to bump it, because as a rule of thumb, from an E&O standpoint, I can't insure a building for 400,000 on the fire and wind policy and have $100,000 flood policy. Because a flood hit, like, John, where's our difference? We saw a lot of that during Katrina. I only had 100,000 on the house, but I had 400,000 on the home. So the flood policies with the city of Big St. Louis basically mirror the wind policy valuation.
Okay, all right.
But are we using any of the excess coverage? Like the quote
No
we
excess.
asked
The
for?
only excess we have is through the DFIS program, which the fire department
Fire department.
program automatically throws that into the package, which really works out great, because that's like $8 million worth of flood coverage.
Mhm.
And we look at the fire department out there on 603 and it's AE zone,
Yeah,
but we got $2 million worth of coverage.
yeah.
See.
And that's what I said that night in the meeting is, even with the $500,000, you're not in the velocity zone, the building's not getting washed away, so you're gonna have cosmetic damage at worst, sheetrock, moldings, stuff like that to repair in that building. There won't be a full, if a flood happens, we got the full value for the fire and all that, so we're good there, but flood wise, $500,000 do a lot of the remodeling inside that building, cause your structure's gonna be there, your core, your building's there. It's not gonna go nowhere.
And again, if we're looking at water in that building,
We got big problems.
we got a lot of serious problems.
We got big problems.
Because I think at that, the height that it's at is higher than what was in that area for Katrina.
Mm-hmm.
So it would have to exceed that water as well.
Yeah.
Now, that's not possible, you know,
But you got a $500,000.
but
If we get
I think
water
we just
there,
need to weigh out what's our, I guess the chances of it doing it or whatever, and just, go
yeah,
by that.
if we get water there, it's gonna be a huge natural disaster, and
Yeah.
I'm sure we're gonna have some government assistance
That's
from the
exactly right.
federal level.
From
I
a-
mean,
From a risk management principle and assessment, you look at that, like you looked at extra million, 14,
mhm,
or it's 500. 500, the first policy is like, what, 3600?
yeah,
Yeah.
That's a $500,000 deductible, and they still want 14,000 for the next million.
yeah,
So you look at the odds of that happening,
I wouldn't gamble on that one.
not, whatever. I
I would-
think y'all know my answer.
Put that money in the bank if we had to for the
Yes.
years and self-insure that.
But if we want,
found
so
was
if we
the
wanted to
case.
mirror our other policies, it would be recommended that we go ahead and I think you called, is it endorsing to add the police to our regular property insurance
Yeah.
for the wind, let's call it fire wind?
Right, you just basically, like, just whenever, you just add that building. to
New
the current
asset.
policy.
Okay.
And you've got a quote for that.
Mhm.
And then also add the base 500,000 of flood would be consistent with the other buildings we have around.
Correct, I would recommend doing the 500 on the flood, 100 on the building, 100,000 on the contents. When you figure out if you got more than 100,000, assisting them when they do the fixed asset assignment to it. If it comes back as 200, let me know, we can endorse it. On the property side, absolutely add it 8-1 to the current policy. My recommendation is probably not to go with excess.
No, no, not for
And
that
from a
price.
timing for placing insurance, if we call a special meeting early next week to get quorum to vote, from a flood insurance perspective, is there a 30-day wait? What, how does that
Yeah.
timing work?
You have no mortgage, so there's a 30-day wait.
Okay.
The sooner the better.
How about the other policy,
No, the other policy.
automatic, once it's a check
Wind and
written?
all automatic fall in, no wait on that,
Yeah.
just on the flood.
Yeah. Okay. So it should be good. So.
'Cause ideally, it's been August 1 is kind of our
Huh?
date we've been looking at, is switching that insurance with the contractor. So that's what our target date is.
Mhm. Okay. Okay. So we really need to put that, we need to try to schedule another meeting for Monday or so, y'all think, or what?
Yeah, why don't you let us, tomorrow I can try and contact,
Everybody.
reach out to
See.
everybody, let them know, to see if, would Monday work for a quick,
Okay.
get together, just to take care of this part,
Okay. All right.
and maybe the other action items that we can just,
I
have them
appreciate
pop back up.
the other quote, Mr. Rossetti, and I think that answers some of the councilman's questions that they had about the flood. So,
Thank y'all.
you. Appreciate it.
Thanks, John.
Okay. All right, go to Dave Simpson's motion for property insurance. So we can't do none of the action items tonight?
Yeah, I think your consent agenda,
Yeah.
your other action items, are
Hmm.
most likely just have to wait,
Yeah,
and
we
then
got to
we
go
can
down.
go in to our, rate analysis
Utility rate.
and budget.
Yes, sir. All right, now that'll be good. Mr. Allen
Thank you,
Bearfield, thank you, sir.
thank you. My name's Alan Bearfield. I work for the Mississippi State University Extension Service. If you know Tim Ray here in Hancock County, I work with Tim very, very closely, and let me do something here because this isn't.
Now it looks like it's projecting, huh?
Council, y'all have a hard copy of that presentation in your packet.
Okay, good.
I'm sorry. Here we go. Mike asked me, when we started this process 4 or 5 months ago in February, about looking at the water, sewer, wastewater, and natural gas rates for Bay St. Louis and coming up with a set of rate structures that would be sustainable for the city to move forward with in the future. And so I've done this kind of work for the last 15 years that I've been at Mississippi State anyways. I've done several municipalities like this. The model that I used basically had Linda Garcia with the Public Utilities Department download 36 months of usage data for everybody. Every single customer for every single month for the past 3 years, we calculate 36 bills for water, for wastewater, for sewer, for gas, for each of those customers for 5 years. Average those bills together to get a monthly average, and then sum the 12 months together to get our annual output for each year. It's not, and we of course classify them by customer type, whether it's residential, commercial, irrigation, or whatever. They're not small tools. The one, and any of, I mean, this is taxpayer dollars paid for this. If you want it, I can sure email it to you. The water, sewer, and wastewater tool has a bit of over 3 million entries. The gas tool is only one utility. It has over 400,000 entries. The reason that we do it like we do it, or the reason that I do it like I do it, is you can analyze any kind of rate structure you want. If you don't like these and you want to go with something else, it's not hard to do. But given what we have, what the group, Ronnie Vanny, Mike, and Mayor Favre came up with, this is the recommendation that I think that we'd like to make to y'all for y'all's consideration. I believe Mike sent this in his packet to you. One, the gas rates we're recommending that they not be changed right now, simply because Ronnie Vanny is in the process, or the Public Works Department's in the process of changing out a large number, if not all, gas meters in the city. They ought to read more accurately. You'll have better readings. Given the age of the meters that we've got now, he's not comfortable, and I'm certainly not comfortable either if he's not, in assuming that those readings are as correct as they could be. And that's what's the meters registering and where the reading, the way the reading was taken anyways. So right now, we're recommending that we don't touch the gas rates. Leave those set at $16 per 1,000 cubic feet for residential and commercial. There is an industrial rate for $7.70 per 1,000 cubic feet. You can look at the bottom of your sheet and you can see what happens over the next 5 years if you do that, with a 2% increase in rates every year and a 4% increase in inflation for expenses every year. The first couple of years you're making a profit, but you're not making much. You're having a little excess revenues, but not much. In 2026, you start losing. But I think this is all going to change when we start getting new data with new meters, and we see, and if we rerun this model next year about this time, I think you're going to see a big difference in these net revenue results.
Yes, okay.
So that's the recommendation I think that we'd like to make on that one.
Okay, so due to expecting increased sales by increased readings because more accurate meters, we're going to see an additional revenue stream.
Yes, sir.
without
I think
increasing rates.
that's going to be probably the biggest part of it. And the other thing I think is going to happen is that you're going to see better readings.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
From the meter readers. I think these are radio read meters they're putting in, aren't they?
Mm-hmm.
And you're not going to have someone going out there and reversing numbers or something like that. It's done with a transponder going around.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the reading itself, getting the numbers off the meter register is going to be as accurate as possible.
Yeah, good, okay. Good with that.
Water results are what we recommend to do on water. If you look in the top table, you can see that the current rates, and this is only for residential, it's not for commercial, and I can show you commercial if you'd like to see it. Residential rates, which is the biggest chunk of what Bay St. Louis is doing, is $6 for the first 3,000 gallons of usage. That's a base minimum charge. All usage over 3,000 gallons is being charged currently at $1.25 a 1,000 gallons. We're recommending that we raise that base minimum amount from $6 to $7, and that the flow rate amount is increased from $1.25 to $2. Now that seems like a pretty good increase in that, and it is in a lot of cases, until you realize that for the city of Bay St. Louis, about 45% of your customers use 3,000 gallons of water or less. So most of your customers are going to be affected by that $1. Now granted, that $1 is about a 16% increase, but it is $1 a month or $12 a year. If you look at the bottom table at the very last column, if you leave the rates where they're at, those are the returns you're going to get for your money. You're going to lose I'm predicting you're going to lose about $190,000 in the first year, and it goes up to $335,000 in the last year. Changing that flow rate or that base minimum rate by $1 and the flow rate by 75 cents get you in the positive on 2024 through 2027. Not by as much as I'm comfortable with being an analyst on it, but y'all didn't call me in here to set your rates for you. This is y'all's decision.
No, but we want a good expert opinion because I come from other districts and I know we're way too cheap, to be frank. We have been way too long and we're way too cheap on our rates to sustain a good system, is my opinion. I've always felt that. So
I think, and I have the numbers in my backpack. I can pull them out. If I'm not mistaken, let me grab it real quick.
can you tell us how we rank with everybody else that you look at or in the state?
There was a study that I did, and it's about 3 years old, and we're going to do it again this year on water and wastewater rates across the state. And I think you sent it out to everyone, didn't you, Mike?
I'm not sure. I don't know if I got
Okay.
that.
I asked Doug earlier if I did, but I haven't. He sent
Okay.
it to me.
Yeah, he can send it to you. It's just a free PDF. Download off the extension website.
Okay.
For water, the state average for the medium-sized municipalities that responded to our survey, the state average for a base minimum for 2,000 gallons, not 3, was $19.47. For a flow rate for 1,000 gallons above that 2,000 is $3.74, and that's targeted. That's just medium-sized municipalities that Bay St. Louis would fall into that category.
Yeah.
To give you a little bit of an idea, one of the sections in that study, and if you get it, you can look down through there. It'll be in the first part. We looked at what different levels of water would cost a customer on average. 3,000 gallons across the state for medium-sized municipalities would cost $20.89. And under the proposed rates that we have here, it would cost Bay St. Louis residents $7. So about a third of what the state average would be.
And Bay St. Louis is made up of an annexed area, which my whole area is annexed. We have a whole different water and sewer department that runs it. The city doesn't. And our base is $24.50 a month for water for 3,000 gallons. So my constituents pay a lot more in line with the average in the state compared to the in-town residents, what they pay. So we water and sewer out there is $65 a month if you don't flush your toilet. I mean, that's what it's gonna cost you.
Now, I will say this, and Mike hasn't heard neither Mike has heard this part of my spiel yet. Bay St. Louis is very, very low on water. It's not very, very low on sewer and wastewater. And I'll get to that in just a second.
Okay.
But that's kind of a caveat in here. It's not bashing the whole thing.
No.
The water, I think, is low, but it depends on what your future plans are.
Yeah.
As you probably know, in Bay St. Louis, for the customers served by the city, sewer and wastewater are divided into two different rates. Wastewater is treated by the Hancock County Utility Authority, and the sewer rate basically takes care of infrastructure within the city, lift stations, collection pipes, service lines running from the well, service, the collection lines that run past the customers' houses and all of that. We've done some reducing on this sewer rate, or recommending that we reduce on it. Before, that sewer rate was $18 for 3,000 gallons of drinking water consumption, and that would be only for non-irrigation meters, regular residential meters. And of course, the commercial rates would be different. We are recommending that rate be dropped to $16 for 3,000 gallons, and there's no flow rate on either one of them. It's a flat. Right now, it's a flat $18. No matter how much water you use, you pay $18 towards your infrastructure cost for your sewer system. Right now, with the current rates that you've got for the next 3 years, you're looking at clearing about $158,000 next year. It drops down about $32,000 every year after that, mainly because expenses are going up faster than revenues are increasing. If you drop that sewer base minimum or that sewer flat rate is what it is, to $16, in 2024, you're going to start out with $70,000, but it drops fairly quickly by about $17,000 a year after that. So when you look at that whole 5-year span, and hopefully the board and the city administration will take it upon themselves to look at this every year. When you look at that 5-year span, you really don't have a whole lot of a cushion over that 5-year period.
That's my question. The projected rates is with the basically 6% per year increases. What you suggesting, 4% for inflation, 2%
Yes, sir.
that, so 6%.
Yes, sir.
And the projected rates, revenue over and under, is with those increases
The projected
projected
is.
out.
I will say this, I didn't want to make the current rates look any worse than they do.
I'll beat them up over it. You don't have to.
Well, no.
You know, it's
I mean,
not enough.
these are pretty high, and you're doing well. There is no increase. There is no percentage increases in the current rates doing that.
Yeah.
That's just, if you keep what you've got for the next 5 years, that's what's going to happen.
So, yeah. And then I guess
But the projected
My-
there is that 2%. Yes, sir.
aside from us fixing to do some infrastructure work, you're almost going backwards in my opinion, because your profits are shrinking, but your infrastructure's aging, which is going to be more maintenance to maintain it. So you shouldn't be having less revenues come in to maintain it as just an aging system, in my opinion.
That, if you'll notice that middle column in all of these tables, we started out looking at, let's set aside a contingency fund
Yes.
to start funding some of this. And we originally set that contingency fund at 10% of revenue. Whatever your revenue was, if you brought in $800,000 of revenue one year, you'd save $80,000 to put into the system itself. There is an amount of money, and it's going to be very, very difficult for you to see this, but there is an amount of money. There's a transfer of $40,000 for water and sewer and $20,000 for gas into that fund to take care of some of those problems. And that's a beginning. That's almost like a contingency fund, because you're treating it as an expense because it's in the budget, but you're not really spending it out. That would run, about 4% of your revenue for sewer. It would run about 4% of your revenue for water, with $40,000 each.
Okay.
Wastewater. Basically the same type of thing. We did increase the base minimum amount, or propose that you increase the base minimum amount from $8 for 3,000 gallons of consumed drinking water to $12 for those 3,000 gallons. Again, those are residential rates, not commercial. And the flow rate would be dropped from $3.45 per thousand of drinking water consumption after the first 3,000 gallons to $3.20. You do start running negative here pretty quickly, but you've got to, one thing you need to remember is that flow rate, or that the wastewater expenses are completely dependent upon the utility authority, because they're the ones treating your wastewater.
Yes.
If their expenses drop, you're going to be in much better shape. This, Mike Rizzo and I were talking about this, and I have to admit I agree with him on it. This part should be more of a pass through with some cushion to pay for your administrative costs and costs for the labor to get it out, get that effluent out to the wastewater treatment plant. But you're not having to pay for any infrastructure with this. So you might not need to run as large of a contingency fund with it.
Okay.
You might want to reallocate some of the budget to it, but this would be it. So I think that this does seem low. Well, it's low if you keep the current rates. It's low, that last column. Next to the last column, you're making enough to cover the sewer part and to cover that contingency on it to fund labor. I apologize. I was looking at the wrong column. I mean, you start out at $188,000 in excess, and most systems, to be honest, do not separate water and waste, or sewer and wastewater like y'all do. And I think it's a great thing. I went down and talked to the mayor of Waveland this afternoon. They're in the same situation that y'all are. They treat wastewater and then produce their own water. And I'm going to do this kind of a study for them. And even though they don't separate out their sewer and wastewater, I'm going to separate it out in the study just because it's a lot easier to look at. So when you start looking at sewer and wastewater together, you're not making a lot on sewer. You're doing fairly well on wastewater. And in my opinion, Hancock County, Bay St. Louis is doing a good job on that as compared to the state. And I hate to compare things to state rules because every system's different. You've got a different cost structure for every system. But when you look at municipalities across the state, 3 years ago, the base minimum rate for wastewater and sewer was $12 for 2,000 gallons. And I think that's abhorrent. That is well too low. Mainly because everyone that I've ever talked to that's looked at this, including me, realizes it costs at least twice as much to treat wastewater as it does to produce water.
Mm-hmm.
And that's going to get worse.
And the wastewater, the thing is, we can't meter infiltration, so
You
that's
can't.
what
That's
gets
right.
you know.
You can have a lot of infiltration on it. And when I mentioned that down at Waveland, and their public works director's eyes got big because they evidently have some area that at high tide it floods.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what it is, but at high tide, this one little area floods, and evidently there's a sewer line that runs through it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if there's a sewer line that runs through it, if it's not watertight, they're treating a lot of ocean water in that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So,
Have you seen it out there?
sir,
Have you seen that water out there?
no, I was there for 30 minutes this afternoon.
So, but But even with that $4 increase, it's really is still a net $3 increase overall bill because you got the $2 reduction on the other side.
Yes,
So
yes,
you're only
sir.
talking now your
Plus a little bit
overages,
more
Plus
because you're
your
reducing the flow
overages.
rate. Yeah.
yeah, plus a little more, but
It's
you can make up on the overages. Though,
Essentially-
you can make up.
$3 flat rate increase
Hmm.
and overall a 50 cents increase on overage.
Yeah,
Cause
because
it's 75 on
For the
water, but
three.
we reduced the
no,
wastewater
sewer. Yes.
25.
Okay.
So, I think for 10,000 gallons, your first 3,000 is $8, and then it's,
Yeah.
$2 for each.
Yeah.
So it's 7, that's 14.
Yeah.
And then, whatever it is, I have to figure it up, I had it figured somewhere.
3,000. I mean $3.
What is it,
No,
Seven.
$2 per thousand.
So 7 for 3 for 10,000, you're gonna have 14 plus 7, you're $21 for 10,000 gallons.
Hmm.
That's cheap.
I wish we was paying that all through the city.
You need to get on that board.
Huh?
You need to get on that board's ass, ask them where all the money's going.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know you've been on it, you on it.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I'll answer any questions that you've got. I can run any scenarios that you'd like. That's,
I mean, I guess we're gonna have to baby step this.
mm-hmm.
So I guess this is a good start in the right direction. I mean, Just my
Yeah,
opinion,
you know,
you
and
know.
look, and next year, we're gonna have more data to go on, you know, with
Better
this
data.
setup. And we might need to move quarters around somewhere.
Yeah.
More, you know, take some from water, you know, this is based on
Yeah.
his flow rates and everything.
Yeah.
We might have to take water from, and add it to wastewater or to sewer or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, one good thing is, we're making money, you know, right now but
Mhm.
we're not where we should be.
No.
So,
No.
so we need an increase to get to where we need to be for projects and all.
I think
We
that's
do have
fair.
100,000 going into capital, as stated 40, 40, 20,
Mhm.
you know, out of the gas and 40 out the other two.
Yeah.
So we're all putting some aside.
Yep.
You know, we also just put some aside, you know,
I
to
think.
move this year,
Mhm.
you know, that has built up a little bit over the years as well, so.
And probably
know.
one thing we need to look at too on these rates is what has the cost of pipe done in the last pipe? You take a piece of water pipe and it's tripled and quadrupled in cost in the
Sure.
last 2 years. So when
and-
it
and
comes
that's,
to
you know, and that's one of
making
the things-
repairs and line repairs, you can't
Yeah.
barely scrape by on that and not have the supplies you need to maintain the system. You know, I mean,
You know, we've seen it in the gas, you know, in our gas meters, you know, they're going
yeah,
80-something weeks out. You know, we're looking at, you know, almost 2 years before we even get a gas meter in now.
Yep.
So
I'm
that's
talking.
one of the reasons we wanna change, because they no longer making the MIUs, and I also want to
Yep.
change over for the MIUs. We can take that opportunity to change over the meters as well from there
Mhm.
on out.
Yeah.
But, again, yeah, is this gonna work out exactly? I think we're gonna be close.
We're gonna be better than we are today if we don't do nothing. That's
That's
a guarantee.
No matter if this study came or not,
Yeah.
we knew we had the increase.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What he has done very well is taken our expenses and line item with the revenue part. You
Mm-hmm.
know, gas is for gas, we took 20% of the budget. Water, we took 40% of the budget and put to it. Sewer, we took 40%. And wastewater is just a flat out fee, just like our garbage. You know, we get a bill, we pay it. We had it, you know,
But for the other ones,
projection of what we're at, you know, so it's gonna go according to flow
Mhm.
on what we charge, but we still have a rough idea, barring anything, you know, 100 inches of rain again, we know where, an idea, you know, I think we figured everything close to, what is that, 400 million gallons? I think we figured, you know, that 380-something million gallons is what, that works out pretty well what David estimates, you know, in that range. So it, you know, these numbers are based on flow and usage and everything from his 3 years. And believe me, when you look at this and you look at these numbers and, you know, there's thousands and thousands of points in there that you could do and look at, you know.
And I think that's what we need to look at going forward over the next few years is
Yeah.
what projects we wanna do. Do want our employees to have new trucks, new tractors, new equipment to work out of instead of older vehicles and stuff in the utility department. All that's gotta be covered by the rates too, to make
It
sure
does.
they have what they need to operate correctly and efficient and that's, I mean, Water Sewer District, they hire, but they got nice trucks, they maintain system, they do a lot of proactive lift station repairs. I mean, all that stuff really makes a difference on maintaining the system is when they not scared to ask the board or somebody for something, but they need a major repair, cause they know the money's there to do it instead of just Band-Aiding it, so. Yes, sir.
I will say one thing in closing, what, and I know you've not taken any action tonight, but when you meet next week to take action, sewer and wastewater, if you didn't want to change those, you wouldn't be hurting much on them. You wouldn't be hurting at all on them. They kind of balanced out. The mayor and Mike kind of got those rates adjusted to be a little more in line with individual cost centers.
Yeah,
But you got to do something to water.
yeah. Especially
You-
if we want a
you-
new well and tower.
Well, yeah.
You know.
I mean, yeah,
I mean-
water. You're getting ready to lose a lot.
And that's what I said,
Yeah.
and that's, I've said a few times here before, and this isn't a bash on us or nobody else, we got what we got, but if Katrina wouldn't have kinda bailed us out back then and ARPA wouldn't bail us out today, where would we be at infrastructure wise in this city? We'll be borrowing $20 million to fix our system that we didn't charge enough for the last 50 years or 60 years. Just the honest realization of where we're at. So rates have to be proper, and just like a business, I can't set my rates to what the customer can afford. I gotta set it to what it costs me to operate my business and stay in business. That's just business.
And we've made changes throughout the years lately.
Yeah.
To get to where we're
Oh, we've
at
done
now.
good since we've been on
Yeah,
board. We've
so,
increased it and
You know,
done.
is it enough? We maintain, we replace this
Yeah.
and that, but if we're looking at projects to do, whether it's water or whatever, we need to start
Yeah.
building up surplus.
Yes.
Fund. And again, we never know on parts. We never know where we're going with that. Everybody knows it's not what it was 2 years ago. So, just a flat rate, we're looking at, I think it's probably a 10% increase on the flat rate, $3.
Yeah.
I think it was, I don't even know if it's that much. It was 18.
But like I say,
Yeah. So we're looking at about a 10% increase, but that's over, we haven't increased these rates, we've increased gas.
yeah,
But we haven't increased these rates in a few years. So
Few
10% over 3 years,
we're still way behind the inflation rate.
but if we'd have done, just like, he's staying here every year, go up 2 or 3%, whatever that percentage is, to keep up with inflation or whatever that's needed, we would be better off than trying to wait 2 or 3 years and come in where it hits hard.
Yeah, I mean, cause like I say, you take a piece of 6-inch pipe, it's probably went up in price 300, 400%.
Yeah.
Not
I mean,
10%.
It's like a culvert, we was getting culverts $150, $180, they $400, $500 for the same culvert now.
Yeah, and with all this ARPA money, and infrastructure money on the market, it's not
It's gonna
coming
drive
down.
it up.
It's gonna keep driving it up. Supply and demand,
And
it's
the-
not coming
and
down.
The demand is way higher than what the supply is gonna be, because this isn't just Hancock County or Mississippi, this is every state in the union that's got this money.
And have to spend it in a certain
They can't supply you
time.
now with it, so, where nothing like this is even thinking about happening, so.
That's what I say,
Again,
it's,
our project is something that probably won't be seen a whole lot, entities doing, because we are fortunate that we can take and spend it on this,
oh yeah.
and then keep pecking away at the other projects as well.
And that's gonna help our infiltration a whole lot too, when we line all
It
the
will,
lines,
and
that's
we're
gonna
hoping
help.
to see that, and we're also, which would reduce, if we can do that, we'll reduce our rates, with the utility authority and all.
Reduce our rates and plus give them capacity for expansion in the system for new homes and stuff like that as we do it, so. Oh, I think it's a good study, I appreciate it,
All right.
good information, so,
We've got a lot in there.
yeah, it was really, really good.
And I would just comment, ideally, early next spring, we engage again. We look at, a year from now's numbers. And he pulls those in. Should be a lot faster, because, setting this all up over the last almost 5 months, it's complex.
Yeah.
So pulling just 1 year instead of 3 years right into the system, it's all set up. You know, I think that'll also give us an idea of, all right, well, how did we do after year 1? And do you want to tweak? You know,
And-
every year you're working your plan.
Yeah.
You know, but I think it's healthy to have Dr. Allen kind of
Oh.
do this process for us.
Definitely, and also can take into account 100 new customers came online. How did that increase our revenue? How did it affect our expenses? That might increase our profit margin because your fixed expenses are already covered, you know? So your only variables might be your power and your chlorine and stuff like that. So I think that would be good.
I know with the newer homes that are being built, almost always are putting in that second meter for irrigation. We look at that because that's.
Oh, yeah, those irrigation meters were included in, I'm sorry, the question was, did I look at irrigation meters for new construction coming in? Yeah.
Mhm.
All those irrigation meters, the data that Linda gave me, downloaded and gave to me, we had one section in there for irrigation meters. Those irrigation meters are charged the same water rate as your regular house meter, but there's no sewage on it.
Sewer
There's no
waste.
sewage and there's no wastewater.
Should we possibly charge a little bit more for a sprinkler meter then? I mean,
Because the wastewater fee is infrastructure, and
yeah.
pressure pipe, putting water out there is infrastructure. I guess.
The sewer fee would be. The wastewater fee, and it's hard, I've got to say it right or I get it mixed up because I'm not used to this. The wastewater fee goes to the utility
Yeah.
authority. Yes, sir.
And I guess they're gonna see the same,
Yes, sir.
Is that infrastructure also getting water supply to the customer?
No,
well, nope,
that
that's
expense is put to the water.
That should be
That's
put to the
separate.
water.
You know, in
That's-
reality, that's where we're at, trying to get all water expenses charged to water, sewer to sewer, wastewater, of course, to wastewater, gas to gas. He has broken that out, you know, accordingly.
Very few of the newer homes don't put in that second meter.
Right.
Like the photographs, that's what's wrong.
But I think that's why that, I mean, when you look at the water rates that's being proposed, and even the proposed reduction in the sewer rate, it's still over twice as much. It costs more to maintain sewer than it does to maintain water.
to answer that question also, Mr. Cliff, is that $6 a month. We have to make sure the water line stays good going to your house. We gotta pump the water out the ground. We gotta treat the water. We have to give you 3,000 gallons of that water a month, off in that $6. That's a lot in that $6. So, and I guess the sprinklers,
Where I used to have to run the water systems in big industrial plants.
yeah,
Quite a
Yeah.
big.
Yeah.
Running
Yeah.
14, 15 million gallons a day, or 50 million gallons a day in one place.
and I guess the sprinkler people will see the 75-cent increase on the overage, and they probably use a lot more water than the home on the sprinkler systems.
Yeah, I think of two comments that came out of our discussions over these last several months, but even really when we focused on Thursday, we met Friday and then again Monday. You know, 45% of the population of the accounts are generally using less than 3,000 gallons. And so, you know, when we start talking about seniors and other things, you know, that we're trying not, how do you impact? And you know, that was very much part of it is, do you reduce down to 2,000 gallons? And I think it was at about 20% or so was under 2,000 gallons. You know, so we the mayor kind of really said, let's keep it at the 3,000. You know, really trying to protect our seniors on that. So that was one comment. The second is on that savings rate. If you look at us right now in our budget, we've got about 100,000 as the line item for transfer into the capital account. And you kind of talked about inflation of pipes and these cost of materials things, you know, and when we kind of first started meeting on this, the savings rate we were using was about 10% of revenues from each of those major lines of streams of income, cash flow streams. And so if you kind of just, on the cash flow, if you look at your total revenues, is basically 5 million for utilities. Close to 1 million of that is the garbage, okay, which is pretty much a pass-through.
Mhm.
So if you look at a $4 million total revenue and say 10% of that, we should probably be trying to put about 400,000 a year into the capital fund. And we're doing 1 million. We're doing 100,000 next year. I think we're in a good position with our recommended budget, but I think next year when we get back and we look at things more, I think we've got to really evaluate that.
We do. Because it might not be that you get to save all 400,000. You might have a $200,000 break that year that you don't have the money for when it breaks because
Or lightning.
it could
strike.
blow a road out and stuff.
And lightning struck, what was it, last week?
Hmm.
And took out a motor, so.
That's what I'm saying. So yeah. Just 'cause you say we're setting aside 400,000, you ain't have 400,000 into the year, 'cause you can be tapping in that 400,000 throughout the year to maintain that system, basically. If
Again, I just,
using it.
kinda
Yeah.
just baby steps.
like say baby steps, we
It ought to be, on our mind.
yes, yeah. I agree. Good study.
Some,
I like it.
do y'all have any more questions, or I don't know if Kyle's still on the line?
No.
He could, hello?
Okay.
So, for Dr. Allen, he's got a 4-hour drive
Yeah,
after
no.
he finishes with us.
Be sure you stop over there and scuba.
You know, that's the
Stop for the
second
stop
time-
sign and scuba.
That's the second time I've heard that today.
Yeah. No,
If anybody cares to go to Starkville this evening, I'll be happy to haul you up there.
no more questions, but
I'll be back in a couple of 3 weeks.
yeah. We
No, I would just
appreciate
like
it.
to personally
you.
thank Dr. Allen again. We started this discussion, I think, in February. Linda has been instrumental in getting the data out of Encode and working to get what we need out of it with Dr. Allen and putting it into all these spreadsheets. And the best thing about it, it was actually a free service by Mississippi State
Awesome.
Extension Services. So,
Can't get better than that.
can't get better than that.
No, thank you.
It's not free. Your tax dollars are paying for it.
Yeah. But I think this is good to separate all the categories and show, just 'cause overall you see utility fund, you made a little money, you think you're doing good, but really, you got winners and losers, you need to pick them
Yeah.
out and see which one
And
needs
that's
to be
one of
fixed.
the things that we're hoping this brings us close to,
Truing it up to
You
where
can't
it's
have
right.
one fund subsidizing.
Exactly. You don't
Exactly.
wanna be overcharging on wastewater.
That's a very
to
good way
cover
to
the
put it,
water,
Gary.
you know, 'cause you charge too cheap
and
on the
hopefully,
water.
that's where we're at.
Yeah.
Water, wastewater, sewer, that's hand in hand pretty much.
Mhm.
So, right now, I think this year we probably used a little bit of sewer money. We should have made that move last year, take $1 or 2 from that rate and put over there. We thought we had enough, and it'll be close, but we probably won't make it.
The big deficiency is water. You can see that, so. Especially if we don't do nothing, it's
Yeah,
steady.
appreciate it.
Appreciate it, thank you very much.
Thank y'all.
Do y'all wanna go through all that with just the next step, with just me and Gary, or y'all wanna try to maybe do it Monday, or
It's
what y'all
about
wanna
5 pages. Y'all
About
wanna
5
go through it
pages?
real quick, just,
Okay.
real quick?
Yep.
We'll go through it again.
Alright,
That's up to y'all, but I mean,
I'm good for a few more minutes, I'm good.
alright. Page 1,
Okay,
that's the revenue coming in. And with this, as you can see, from projections and this and that, we are on a conservative end based on our 3-year look at actual revenues coming in. So this is where we at on that, we increase some, decrease some, and along with the increases and all.
and the big increase in gas is gonna be because we did increase that rate,
We did.
and it'll be a
We
whole
went
year next year. at that
$16
rate.
on that,
Yeah.
and also, more people's getting in it, and
Okay.
again, that's a pass on.
Yeah,
The gas, I think we might have, a flat rate of,
mhm,
expecting to buy 540,000 in here.
okay,
We'll get to that over there when we come to it, but again,
Yeah.
that's gonna all depend on cost,
alright,
so, but again, this is on the conservative side of what the projections are,
yeah,
and we stayed pretty conservative based on, just 3 years of actual revenue coming in,
Okay.
you know, so. So with that, on page 2, we start the expenses. Again, we went through payroll and all that with those projections of where we wanna be with that. Page 2, just the administration part, you know, services and all with Delta Water and different things, the annual audit as well. That'll be coming back up very shortly for next year. So there's not a whole lot, you know, looking at that and all. On page 3, same thing, payroll, we put in some increases there, just like we did with Public Works, trying to get these guys up to, I wouldn't say to the average, but work our way towards the average like everything else. You know, when you start looking at wastewater operators or water operators or gas operators, we're not even close in the ballpark for what they make at other entities.
No.
So we're working towards that. We think this is a big step to it and everything. But as you go down and see, you know, we got for supplies and all, you know, for the gas and different things, that's our meters and all. It's not to completely change out, but that is some of those expenses there. Same thing with water, the MIUs and all, and coming up there. If you go to the next part down there, you know, our garbage contract, you know, it's projected to be about $966,000. That should be a pretty good balance with what we're collecting and then going out as well. That's just hopefully a pass-through. Wastewater projections about $1,147,000, and you see we matched that with the revenue. His revenue showing a little higher than that, but this is where we're hoping to be at least on that.
Okay.
Um,
And get on them down there on that board if it's not.
Huh?
I'm picking some, get on them on that board if not.
Oh, I'm working on that. Believe me, you know, and then if you look on there, our gas, let's see, where's our gas?
Page 4.
Yeah, on gas, yeah. Gas on page 4, you know, we're projecting 540,000, where we think that's probably gonna be high this coming year since the rates is down. You never know on this. But again, we're tracking and everything and going forward with that. We think we're in very good shape now where we're at. So moving forward there, I think we're good. Debt service there, we're looking at, that's all our expenses, everything we have leased out and everything, you know, just that, nothing new there. Page 6, if you look at page 6, we got 320,000 going out, 220,000 is being moved to the general fund for, you know, administration costs and other costs associated with this. And then we're also looking at putting 100,000 into the capital maintenance fund. 320,000 being, you know, on that. Also on this, we're looking at the end of the year being $65,000 to the good. Is what we have based here. If his projections are more accurate and where we get that, we will be better off.
Yeah.
And
We might get to the 200,000 this year, which is 5% we're talking about,
Yeah.
you know?
you know, again, we moved 400,000 earlier this year in the budget
Yep.
to that fund. That was, you know, I guess accumulated over the last couple of years
Yeah.
that we had in the not general fund, but the utility fund.
Yes. Yep.
So with these rates and all, and again, this is conservative numbers, but we do feel like they're very achievable. We're hoping for better. How much better, you know, I don't know. I think one of the things to be is whether or not the water and the wastewater is more reflective of his numbers based on usage.
Yeah.
You know, so. Page 7, that's our capital maintenance. We got $650,000 in that. You know, whether we use all that or not, we don't know. But we're looking at replacing our MIUs for our gas meters for sure. If we do it, we're probably looking at, with everything set up, the MIUs and everything to read the meters and all of that, we're looking at probably about a $300,000 cost this year. So that's one of the things I think we talked about the last meeting was taking that 250,000 infrastructure money. We had that set there from Jackson that was given to us this year for infrastructure. Possibly take some of that and put the rest of it from our capital maintenance, which would mean that we wouldn't use all of this money.
Okay.
And again, like you said, no telling what else. We're looking at trying to purchase some more Fastenal trucks now. Again, we have a $75,000 limit on that, but they do have some available, so we're slowly getting there with that.